Now, the son of the ousted Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Sajeev Wazed, has alleged that the Muhammad Yunus-led interim government is weaponizing the judiciary to carry out a political witch hunt against his mother. He claimed that the tribunal was part of a broader effort to persecute Awami League leaders, alleging extrajudicial killings, mass incarcerations and violent attacks on the party activists. But India has confirmed receiving the diplomatic communication. It has refrained from commenting on it further. I'm going to start my conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Major General Gigi Dwivedi. Unfortunate news pouring in once again from our neighbor Bangladesh, where the Awami League leaders and the son of the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has once again accused the interim government that is led by Yunus that there is a plot to incarcerate the members of the Awami League. There has been a plot to attack the Awami League leaders, including his mother.
Megha, first and foremost, the moot question is, what is the legitimacy of this government? After all, this government have been appointed by the army chief after elected government was toppled on August 5 this year. The question is that this dispensation firstly has no locus standi and it doesn't have any legitimacy. All that they are doing is to gun for the Awami League leadership and also the former president. Now, 2-3 important issues that need to be kept in mind. Firstly, the tribunal itself, which have been constituted, it is headed by one gentleman, Tajul Islam, who has been fighting the cases of the war criminals. And having fought the war myself, I can vouch that these war criminals today are calling the shots. They are the people who are indulging in genocide, indulging in looting and arson, and they are all Jamaati elements and erstwhile so-called the Bihari Muslims. The point is that issue raised by Sajeev Wazed has definitely, I think, a lot of validity. Because the way, just 2 minutes, the way the whole thing is being framed is only one pointed aim, is to demolish the whatever footprint the Awami League has got and destroying all the institutions, not only judiciary, every institution have been destroyed. And lastly, a very systematic genocide is being orchestrated by the present dispensation, which is accomplished to actually change the whole demographic of Bangladesh and in particular the Hindus.
Right. All right. Also on the telecast with me, Sumit, let's hear it from you in wake of these very disturbing events that have taken place in the last few months, ever since Sheikh Hasina government was ousted from Bangladesh. And particularly concerning for India is how there have been overtures being made by the Bangladeshi interim government towards Pakistan. Now you have vessels, commercial vessels that are arriving on the Bangladesh coast. We've taken a look at how visa relaxations norms have been relaxed for the Pakistani nationals wanting to enter into Bangladesh. There have been a number of attacks being made on India with regards to the statements that have been made by the Ministry of External Affairs that there are 2,200 cases of violence against Hindus, and this has come out and spoken about the Bangladeshi government saying that these are all false narratives that are being built by India. The situation has become from bad to worse. How should India tackle it? Again, the pressure mounting on India once again, because we have Sheikh Hasina who has been given an asylum, and this has been gone out and said in public by the BNP, by the interim government, that India is making it difficult for diplomatic relations between both the countries to prosper further, especially because an asylum has been given to Sheikh Hasina by India.
Megha ji, thank you for having me on your show, ma'am. Your question has three parts. The part number one is, what is this so-called extradition treaty about? First of all, the extradition treaty covers terrorists and murderers. Sheikh Hasina, to best of my imagination, is not a terrorist, is not a mass murderer. Second thing, it has an exception that the political figures are not a part of that treaty. Sheikh Hasina is the tallest political figure there. Now you have put around 45 cases of murder on her and some writing cases on her. Well, that doesn't make her accomplices. You can see anything. Fourth thing, the person who is calling the shots is an illegal, illegitimate government. As per the Bangladeshi constitution, any interim government has a life of 3 months. He has crossed that line. He is not selected, he is not elected. ये तो अब फालतू में वहां बैठा है. Now his nokri will end up in 25 days when Donald Trump takes on the office. You know, Victoria Nuland and Donald Liu got him the job. Then with the help of China, he's sticking around. So what if somebody has to be extradited? It should be Yunus, because you have persecuted Hindus. There's a genocide of Hindus happening and minorities happening, rape, murder. Even our temples are vandalized. Ma Kali's Shakti Peeth's Mukut is gone missing. And you have seen the atrocities which have been systematically perpetrated against every Hindu and minority of Bangladesh. If you want to change the demography of Bangladesh, that is for sure. And last point in this section is, how can you ask for extradition of a person? I'm an illegitimate person. The person who signed the treaty is Sheikh Hasina. She's the legitimate Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and illegitimate and illegal is asking for the extraction of a legal Prime Minister. And last point here, Sheikh Hasina never resigned. Kaha resigned ka parcha? Does Yunus have a letter? Why doesn't he show that letter wherein Sheikh Hasina resigned? Sheikh Hasina told she has not resigned. So that's the point number one. Point number two, talking about this Pakistani angle. Ma'am, the things have gone bad. Look, after 42 years or 3-4 decades, first ship docked in Chittagong around 42 days back. In that ship, there were few containers which were kept aside. The customs was asked not to check those containers. There are 65 Pakistani nationals which have gone missing after that ship. Nobody is willing to find them, and all the people who were on the dock that day have been transferred. So it is believed a few thousand or a few hundred kgs of RDX and some shipments are gone there missing, and it has come in Chittagong. Chittagong is the area where you have the highest Hindu population. That's now point number one. In this section, point number two is day before yesterday, another ship after 42 days. Chinese ship, Panama ki company usko chalati hai, has docked again in Chittagong, and again it has 699 containers. Again, it is believed to be 50-60 containers have some nefarious things in it, which will be possibly used against India or Arakan's army and all. Again, some people have gone missing, and again, Yunus is not talking about that. So what is it Pakistan is setting up in Bangladesh? What are those arms and ammunition which Pakistan is sending these? Which are those sophisticated technicians or military personnel which are coming there? Am I wrong to saying that is a camp which is training Bangladeshi forces to fight with Arakan's army? And the point here is, which is very important, is why is Yunus completely silent on this big fiasco which is happening? Why does Pakistan and Bangladesh is trading? They were not trading for last 4 decades. And Pakistan is sending Bangladesh sugar, जिसके पास खुद चीनी नहीं है, जिसके पास खुद आटा नहीं है, वो चावल नहीं, वो बांग्लादेश को चीनी भेज रहा है. That is the official version, because the official version is the ship contains sugar, limestone, and cotton. Pakistan doesn't have sugar. Where is the sugar coming from?
Okay.
Now last point I want to make about this allegations. Look, yesterday Sunday Jack Sullivan was there, an outgoing NSA of United States of America. He clearly told them, you are doing atrocities against Hindus and minorities, they have to stop. And this is what you are trying to do. And there's an official statement, because now Yunus has crossed all the levels. It's a genocide of 21st century. He's trying to match Hitler with whatever he's trying to do right now. Now, another thing here is, now about this political charges, ma'am, there was a plant which was set by Russians, a nuclear plant, right? Suddenly, these people woke up. They said, in this plant, though Russians stopped the work when this coup happened, they said, in this plant, under Sheikh Hasina, you have embezzled $5 billion, and this money is put in a bank in Malaysia, and her son, who is involved, and her niece, her name is Tulip, she's a member of the UK's parliament, she's also involved in this. So Sheikh Hasina, her son Joy, and Miss Tulip is involved in $5 billion. It's stashed in a Malaysian bank, and this is how Sheikh Hasina is doing the corruption. So the overall picture is mass murder Sheikh Hasina, rioting Sheikh Hasina, compromising national interest Sheikh Hasina, and $5 billion of loot is Sheikh Hasina, and India is trying to keep her safe. That is the bigger game which this jihadi is trying to do, because he knows iski naukri 25 din ki hai. After Trump comes to picture, they don't need Yunus, they don't need this regime. So they are trying to create as much as ruckus. And my question over national TV is, what are those Pakistani containers doing there?
Okay.
Why those Pakistanis are not caught? Why Yunus not
Yes, those are difficult questions that India will have to come face to face with, because then there is threat to our borders on the eastern side as well as on the western side. Lieutenant General Nitin Kohli, again, a difficult situation for India to circumvent, keeping in mind, could there be an alleged plot by the Yunus government that is run by extremists and Islamists that form the coalition over here to make Bangladesh into an East Pakistan?
Good evening, Megha. Thanks for having me on your show, and good evening to fellow panelists. Uh, Firstly, you see, just a minute. You see, whatever Yunus, he makes the statements, his actions speak louder than his words. After 5th of August, the Chief Justice was made to resign because there were protests going on there. 5 more judges, they resigned, and their Security and Exchange Board, their chairman also resigned, and his own people have been put in place. They've been going against all persons of Awami League and including minorities. And the terrorist, Al Qaeda terrorist, this guy Rahmani, who was there, Jasmuddin Rahmani, and 700 more terrorists, they had been released from the jail. All their actions indicate of this. Today, Jamaat-e-Islami is calling the shots. Though army is also behind there, but there has been radicalization of army also for quite some time. In this entire game, one smart player is that is the Bangladesh army. You see, we all need to note here that Bangladesh army is in good books of everyone. No one blames them. They all blame police. Then they are the one who orchestrated all this ouster of Hasina and all the atrocities what have been going on under their nose. These things have been going on. Now your question is it going the Pakistani way? As on today, yes. These terrorists, Jasmuddin Rahmani himself has said that we'll carry out bombings and terrorist activities will start in the northeast of India. The way the Hindus are in, the Hindu sort of establishments are being treated is very well known. And the way their economy is going down. You see, today, Yunus is not caring for its economy. Their dependence of India is colossal for trade, for most of the things go from here. The power goes from here, which has also been stopped to quite some extent. Second thing, what is happening is on their western side, on the rather southern side, the Rakhine army has come. In the Arkan army has come in the Rakhine state, which is creating problems for them. You see, they have come almost till Cox's Bazar and even the Chittagong tract area, they are coming. And lately, it has also been learned that the ferries going from there to St. Martin Islands have been stopped. So the way today things are happening, the way Pakistani number of senior officers have come there, they are army officers. After that, only some Bangladeshi ex-army people have made the statement. Then we'll go to Calcutta, we'll take Chekannag, we'll go to Delhi. All these bluster has been going on. So today, the way the things are in disarray, it looks like economically as well as socially, they are moving on the path of becoming Pakistan.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to quickly get in Major General Gigi Trivedi as well. Now, how alert should our armed forces be in wake of these recent developments, particularly where Pakistan has come into the picture?
Well, Megha, what is happening today is a trilateral that is emerging between China, Pakistan and Bangladesh. See, China was, as it is, has a big footprint in Pakistan. China has deep engagement with the defense forces of Bangladesh. But what is new angle is how China is orchestrating the new linkages between Pakistan and Bangladesh. This trilateral is a very serious development because in this trilateral, it is the defense forces of the three countries which are playing a lead role. Because in China, PLA called the shots, and having been defense attaché there, I can tell you with certain amount of credibility that PLA and Pakistan Army have a parallel dealing with the government. And now the Pakistan Army is going to train Bangladesh Army. They are the ones who are now coming big way into Bangladesh. So what is happening is that this is a very sensitive development, keeping in view our sensitivity of the Siliguri corridor, our sensitivity towards both the Pakistan, China and Bangladesh. Therefore, I think the army has to be very alert. Not only army, I think Indian government has to take a call, and we have to have a very clear roadmap as to how we are going to deal with the new situation, because it's not only armed forces, it's the country that makes the security policy. Therefore, all I can say is that India needs to have a very clear-cut roadmap as to how to deal with the new trilateral that is coming up. Secondly, we also got to sensitize the Americans, because who have played a big role in the change of regime, that what is happening here is going to destabilize not only South Asia, but going to have form a ramification in Indo-Pacific, because China is going to get a bigger role in the Bay of Bengal and also in the Indo-Pacific. And my
Okay.
last point is that this development needs to be taken very seriously, and we need to work out our mechanism as to how to deal with the trilateral threat that is emerging.
Okay.
Megha.
Ambassador Veena Sikri, now can this situation be tackled and ameliorated diplomatically? So far, India has been very pointedly raising concerns about the genocide of Hindu minorities and the attacks on the Hindu temples. We have not gone and spoken out in the open about this newfound love between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Do you think there is at this point of time some space for India to help reconcile things with Bangladesh diplomatically?
First and foremost, we have to see that the situation in Bangladesh today is a completely constitutionally illegal and invalid government. This government, it's not even a government, you can call it a regime or an administration. This government is not authorized to take any of the decisions they are taking. If it is an interim government, because the Supreme Court at the time of 5th August had told the President of Bangladesh, yes, you can have an interim government, even though the present constitution under which they have taken oath does not provide for an interim government. Even so, even if you say, okay, an interim regime, their authority is just to maintain law and order and to hold elections within 90 days. They have done neither of these 2 points. Law and order is a complete disaster. They have been, as we know, hitting on the minorities, but also the Shias and the Ahmadiyas. There is absolutely, the Buddhists were not allowed to have their main festival in the month of October. Durga Puja was a terrible situation where even the golden crown was stolen from the Jeshwareshwari temple. And we've seen the prosperity is declining, economies in a shambles, and they are taking decisions like forcing the judiciary out, the old one, by mobocracy, mobs surrounding them, and swearing in a new judiciary. They have no authority to do that. They're not just weaponizing the judiciary, they are bringing in a judiciary which has no authority to be there. So I think the first thing is to question all this. Why is all this happening? There is no legality for any of these decisions that are being taken.
Right.
So in fact, many of the people are saying that when you have a situation like this, where Professor Muhammad Yunus is a puppet, and the Jamaat-e-Islami and the other Islamist parties and organizations are calling all the shots, they're even been sworn in as advisors. You know, Hizb ut-Tahrir, Jamaat-e-Islami, the Hifazat-e-Islam, Islami Andolan, Bangladesh. You know, that's not an interim government at all. So I think
and also, do you think there's a time span that has been now announced by Muhammad Yunus? He said that the elections should be held after reforms take place in the country, and this should happen by the end of 2024, 2025 or early 2026. Do you think this is a justified time frame that he has set up for elections to take place? Because right after he was appointed as the interim advisor to the people of Pakistan, to the people of Bangladesh, he said as soon as reforms happen in a few months' time, elections should be held.
Yeah, but the question is that there is no question of having reforms before elections. This is another illegality this government is doing. Reforms can only be done by an elected parliament. How can you reform the constitution by a bunch of selected people who are there, who have come in on their own? We don't know how they've come in, which government has sworn them in, what is this? So this whole question of reforms before elections is a perfect example of yet another constitutional illegality that this government is undertaking. And they have to be called out on that. The constitutional reforms, election reforms, financial reforms, banking reforms, can all this be done by a unelected, appointed government, which has normally a time span of not more than 90 days? So this whole question of linking elections with reforms is another constitutional invalidity, which has to be called out. So in fact, many people in Bangladesh are very unhappy with the situation, and they're saying, Aage bhalo chilo, it was better before. Because nobody had that kind of situation where professors are being forced out of their jobs, and the media is completely gagged. I mean, they used to accuse Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of controlling the media through the Digital Security Act. And now they've done much, much worse. Hundreds of journalists are in jail. Hundreds others have had their press accreditation cancelled. When they write something, they're picked up and put somewhere, nobody knows where they are.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
it's
You
a
know what's
complete-
also disturbing, and then let me get you comment from Sumit Peer as well, because you take a look at all these American and British media houses. You take a look at New York Times or Guardian or Washington Post. They, you know, when they are writing their editorials or portraying news coming in from Bangladesh, they are very sympathetic to the interim government. They speak about how the students' protest has brought about this revolution in the country, how they've also spoken about India's quote-unquote misinformed figures, or these figures of the alleged genocide of Hindus that is taking place in Bangladesh is misconstrued, is not telling the truth that is happening in Bangladesh, which is also, you know, echoing the sentiment of the interim government of Bangladesh. So how do we see over here that a government that has been virtually propped by the US government, which has its full tacit support by way of the Clintons, is then going to become a very difficult, almost unsurmountable task for India to then manage?
I think, Meghaji, you have to wait for the winds to change. The winds are going to change on 20th of January 2025. 25 दिन है. It's not a long time, so I'm not a weatherman, but you know, the Donald Trump coming into place. Donald Trump has won the election on deep state. He has said how the media has been infiltrated and how the media of American media has been working hand in gloves with the deep state. Now today what we are seeing is this government puppet regime of Yunus is a product of Democrats, deep state, and this compromised American media, where a lot of Americans are putting money in publications which are losing, you know, millions of dollars a year, but still they want to buy them because they can have this narrative on. Again, this whole thing was orchestrated to destabilize India, to destabilize Northeast. They never thought Prime Minister Modi will make it for the third time. When he made it, now what to do, when to do, and how to destabilize it and not let him work. So one of the things was start trouble in Bangladesh that will kind of engulf whole of Northeast. Then you have trouble happening with China, your Pakistan activated, then you have problems with Maldives, and that is how you're going to play the game. So Americans started it, but the Chinese took it over. Today it is China, it is Pakistan, it is Turkey. You see Turkish drones, you see Bakhtiar drones. How have Bakhtiar drones reached Bangladesh? Who paid the money? And how did Iranian drones, suicide drones, reach Bangladesh? Who paid the money to Iran? Today, all the Islamic countries, even if you look at the D8 meeting, in D8 meeting in Turkey, you know, the Yunus was there and he was hugging Shahbaz Sharif. Let's bury all the hatchet. Why don't you come to Pakistan on the state visit? Even Turkey and all the Islamic countries, including Egypt and all, they are giving all kind of support and assistance to the Yunus government, because Yunus government is seen as that messiah who is trying to get that Islamization of Bangladesh done, because Bangladesh was the only Islamic country which was democratic and secular. This was a thorn in the eyes of a lot of Islamic nations. Now Yunus is seen as that liberator. Look, I think if you ask me, I'm not I would be very candid, ma'am. I think diplomatic options are over. Dr. Jaishankar is going to US for 6 days. If something can happen there, well and good. Else, you have to look at kinetic options and you have to liberate the Hindus of Bangladesh. Bangladesh has to break up into 2 or 3 countries. There's not an option left, because if you leave it to them, they will make it another Afghanistan. We will have 10, 20, 100, 500 Hindus left in due course.
Okay, we're still at a stage where India has been very calibrated and calculated in terms of the response that it is going to give. Notwithstanding, it has been giving asylum and continued to do so for months together now, since August, to Sheikh Hasina, and our stand is very clear. Nonetheless, a situation that is going to be difficult to tackle for India. How are our diplomatic affairs going to move forward in some sort of a deal that can be cracked with the Yunus government is something we'll keep a close watch on. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and thanks for watching NewsX.
Thank you.